Good morning, friends! Welcome to another episode of my knitting and sewing podcast. I'm Emily, and I'm really excited to be here to talk to you today. It's kind of a last minute thing, so don't expect it to be particularly, how shall I say this, well thought out and planned. This is usually how I end up doing these videos, is it'll be like a last minute, like, okay, let's film a video because I feel like I'm in a good mood today and I'm looking cute and all of those things. But I have a few things to talk to you about as far as projects and whatnot. I haven't gotten a load of stuff done because Mike and I were actually sick a couple of weeks ago, and then we were on vacation for a week, so it's been a bit higgledy-piggledy around here recently. But I do have a little bit of update on some knitting projects. And then I've got some sewing plans that I thought I'd share with you. I have a bunch of like book things that I want to talk about, but that's going to be in separate videos. So happy autumn, fall, or whatever you want to call it. Yesterday was the 22nd, which was the official first day of fall, which is phenomenal. I am quite happy about it. Tennessee decided to behave this year, and it actually, as soon as it hit September 1st, the temperatures just dropped by 10 degrees, and it was amazing. Yesterday there was a high of 65 in Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but it was so beautiful. It was cloudy and overcast and raining off and on and windy, and I went and took a walk, and it delighted my soul. Anyway, enough about weather. Let's go ahead and just jump in and start talking about some of these projects that I've been working on. I'm going to give you an update on my Gil sweater. This is what happens when you have the pattern in. It goes in your pattern bag, or your project bag. Not too much progress to report. I'm still working on the sleeve. As I've mentioned before, it's really interesting how different yarn and such shows up on the camera versus real life, because in real life it doesn't look stripy, but on the camera you can almost see like just the different I love it regardless, but you can almost see like the different stripes of like lighter and darker. So again, I haven't worked on this one too much, sleeve island and all that. But now that it's cool enough to wear sweaters, I need to get this done. But I'm actually really close on finishing the sleeve, and I will say I love how the sleeve fits. It's a very nice, slim, close-fitting sleeve, and it looks so good, because basically what I've been doing is when I try it on, I can't do it because my dress has kind of boofy sleeves, but I'll just stick my arm down the sleeve. And it's really close. I think I probably only have another between like 2 and 4 inches with the cuff, I think. Maybe a little bit more, maybe 5 inches. And that doesn't take very long to do because it's a pretty small circumference. It's just a matter of sitting down and making myself do it. But there's a project on that, and I did forget to mention this is the Guile sweater by Claire Walls of Flossie, or Flossie Knits, and it's a beautiful, all-over textured, did I say shawl a minute ago? I don't know if I did or not. It's a textured, all-over textured sweater with this beautiful cable running down the front. And then the rest of it is in moss stitch, and it's got raglan increases. And so far, I absolutely love it. I think it is going to work amazingly for my fall/winter wardrobe. And just really quick, I'm knitting this out of my hand-dyed yarn on a 75-25 superwash merino nylon blend, and it's a DK weight. So there's that one. And then once I finish that sleeve, I'm going to do the other sleeve, and then it's the body, and then I'm done. So at some point I'll get back to it. And then the other knitting projects that I have to show, well, first off, I'm going to show you this one, my beautiful curly yarn. I I can't remember if I showed it on my last podcast episode, but I know I've mentioned it in previous episodes. I was working on the Mermaid Avenue socks which is a pattern designed by Summer of Summer Lee Design Co. And I've been knitting it out of, I believe it's Lion brand yarn in the hand and foot line, which I snagged a couple of skeins from Joann's like months ago, really long time ago. Not really long time ago, but a while ago. And it's this beautiful like self-striping yarn. And I had gotten past the heel and was onto maybe like, I think I just finished decreasing for the gusset, and I realized I just wasn't loving the socks. I like the idea of the Mermaid Avenue pattern, but it is a little bit fiddly, and recently I just have not been in the mood for fiddliness in anything to do with knitting or sewing or whatever. I just don't want anything fiddly. And so I decided a couple days ago to just frog the sock that I've made so far, and I'm going to be making it's like York socks. It's a sock pattern by, hold on, I'm gonna wake up my computer here, by Mina Phillips. It's the Yorkville socks. Mina Phillips also has the Knitting Expat podcast here on YouTube, which I'll link below. I don't actively watch it at this time. I don't actually watch that many knitting podcasts right now. Mainly just, I just have a couple that I watch. Mostly Claire of Flossy Knits whenever she uploads a podcast episode, and then every now and then I'll watch another one. But I just haven't really been in the mood for that. I've mostly been watching a lot of like book related videos and really enjoying that. But anyway, back to the topic on hand. I'm going to be making the Yorkville socks, and I'll pop a picture up here for you. And they're just a very simple textured sock. I actually knit the pattern previously for a sample knit. Oh, who did I do it for? It might have been Autumn and Indigo yarn. I can't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, I have knit the pattern before, and it's a very simple textured sock pattern, which I really love. So I'm going to try that one out. That's what I'm going to knit with this yarn. And I'm knitting it on 56 stitches I'm knitting it on US size 1, 2.25 millimeter double pointed needles over 56 stitches, which is my standard stitch count. Which actually I've been surprised. I've noticed that there are not that many people that use 56 stitches, and I don't know why. It's a little frustrating because sometimes like with Olivia of This Handmade Life, which I love her sock pattern designs, and I've bought many of them, and then she has a bunch of them that are available for free. And I realized that her standard stitch count is 64 stitches, which it doesn't always work to just eliminate 8 stitches and work the pattern over 56 stitches. So I'm going to have to experiment a little bit with going down a needle size and then up the stitch count and see how that works, but haven't gotten there yet. So that's the first sock I am working on. And then the next sock that I am working on, what else is in here? Oh, I have another pair of socks. This is in one of my knitting bags that I took with me on vacation. And so there's all manner of things in here. So this is the other sock I am working on at the moment, and I cast this on while I was on vacation, and I was thinking about doing a number of different socks, a couple of different patterns from This Handmade Life and whatnot, and I realized that since I was on vacation, I just wanted something really simple. So this is a mostly vanilla sock that I have put a little bit of 2x2 ribbing on the cuff. And then when I get down to the foot of the sock, I'm going to have a band of 1x1 ribbing that goes around about the middle of the foot. And I'm really excited about it. I think it's a fun departure from just a basic vanilla sock, and I'm curious to see how it's going to fit. And again, I'm knitting this out of my hand-dyed yarn in this colorway, that I called it Sophie's Flower Shop from after Howl's Moving Castle. And I really love it. It's mostly just a plain yarn, but then it has all these pops of color, and it's so pretty. Like, I started knitting with it and I just realized how much I loved it. And then this cuff is just another one of my hand dyed yarns in just a navy. And yeah, I'm really happy. Again, double pointed needles, 56 stitches. You get the gist. So that is actually all of the active knitting projects I have at the moment. I am planning to work on a couple more socks here soon. I do have, so right now I'm wearing these socks, which I recently finished. I think I showed them on my last podcast. And then I have the rest of this cake of yarn left over from making these socks that I'm going to be knitting, I think, one of the patterns by This Handmade Life. And I was talking about doing either Kindred Spirits or Wind Song, but I've realized that with those, the stitch count, it's one size, 64 stitches, and because of the cabling, I need to play around, like I said, with going down a needle size, and so I'm going to do those patterns on different sock yarn. I'm going to pick one of her other patterns to use for this. So, at some point in the near future, I'll be casting that on. Since that is all of the knitting stuff I have a couple sewing things to show you, and then that's about it. So I think I showed briefly that I was working on this dress, which is a heavily modified version of the Jennifer Lauren handmade Laneway dress. And I have given it a sweetheart neckline and little puff sleeves, and I was going back and forth on whether or not I wanted to do a pleated skirt or a gathered skirt, and I was fiddling around with it and I decided on a gathered skirt. So I'm going to stand up here so you can see a little bit better here. Let me move my chair. So this is kind of what we're looking at the moment. I haven't actually stitched this seam. There's a million pins in here, but so far it's going good. This is just a quilting cotton from Joann's, and it's in this lovely cranberry color. It's showing up a little bit more orangey on the oranger side of burgundy than it is in real life. But I'm really excited about it. It's got inseam pockets. I think it's just going to be a really nice, simple, fall-timey, or all time of the year dress. So hopefully I'll get that done soon. As I think I've mentioned before in previous episodes, I've been in a pretty significant sewing slump. I haven't really felt super inspired to do a lot of sewing. I want to sew, but then when I get home in the evenings, I'm kind of tired, and it makes it a little difficult to just want to sit down and work on stuff. So I've been doing a lot of reading and knitting, which is okay, you know. I feel like with me, I do this and I'll have peaks of where I'm reading a ton, and then I'll have periods where I only read a couple books, and then I'll have times where I sew 18 dresses in 2 weeks. Not quite like that, but you get the idea. And then I'll have times where it's been recently, for probably over a year now, I've sewn a few things, but it's only been a small handful. I'm just going with it. But one project I did want to talk about, because I thought about it the other day and I'm really excited about it, is something that I want to make. This is a flannel shirting from Joann that I bought either last year or the year before. Can't remember off the top of my head. And it has this really subtle, I don't know what you would want to call it. It's like a faux woven look to it, which I really love. It has almost like a stripe, like a very, very, very subtle stripe up and down. And I've been trying to think about what I wanted to make with it, and I had this moment of realization the other day that this is like the perfect pattern for it. This one right here in the middle. And this is Simplicity 3673. And I bought this, oh golly, probably like close to 10 years ago now. Like not quite, but like maybe 7 or 8 years ago. Because my younger sister really loved this pattern and she wanted me to make her some, so I did. But I've never made it for myself. So what I will need to do is, here, let me see if I can show you this line drawing. That one. What I will have to do is, it's a little bit of an empire waistline. Ooh, there we go. Yep, it's a little bit of an empire waistline and then has these beautiful pleats right over the waist, and then it flares out to this really pretty full skirt. I will have to make a full bust adjustment, and then one thing that my sister really disliked about it was, and I don't know if you can really tell, maybe you can, on here, right on her arm, that armhole is one of those ones that's really bad about cutting right into this like section of your arm. And so my sister didn't really end up wearing the jumpers that I made for her too much. So I will need to like round that in a little bit more so it doesn't cut into my arm, because that is one of my least favorite things about like handmade dresses. When it does that, it drives me insane. Because it like hurts, because you'll like do your normal day-to-day activity, and then in the evening when you take the dress off, you're like, oh my goodness, thank heavens I get to take this off now, because it's like you'll do this and it like cuts into your arm and it's really uncomfortable. So I'll need to modify that. And then the other thing that I want to do, I'm not like a massive fan of boat necks, so you can see it better on probably one of these two. But what I want to do is I want to like dip it down. This is really hard to do backwards. I want to dip it down into a little bit more of a scoop neck. So maybe about this low, or maybe like to here. Like that. That should be pretty easy to do, is to just do those two little adjustments and then I should be set. I am planning to probably grab some sort of lining fabric from Joann's. Because this is flannel, it tends to be kind of a, how do I describe it? It like sticks to things almost. And so I think I will probably go ahead and grab a few yards of some type of a lining fabric, just so that I can wear it with tights or whatever I want and not have to worry about wearing a slip or an under slip or anything. It'll already be fully lined, and I think it'll look really nice too. So that's something I'm quite excited about. We'll see how soon it happens. As I've said, I am keeping my expectations incredibly low for how much that I will actually do sewing, because that red dress over there has been sitting there for like a month and a half, and the previous dress I was working on, I worked on it over a period of like a month and a half or 2 months. So like, it's been taking a while to make things. So we'll see. But I do think that I would find this to be incredibly wearable, especially over the winter months. And the nice thing is that with this dress, you can very easily wear it as just a dress and not just, well, not like a pinafore or over top of a blouse. You could just wear it as like a sundress. Now, granted, this is flannel, so it's not really going to be a sundress, but I could definitely see myself wearing it in like late spring when it's warm, but not like warm. I could wear it just as a dress with like a cardigan, and I think that would be really, really cute. So, keep your fingers crossed for me. I'll get it done eventually. So that's one project that I want to work on, and then the one other project, actually, I'm gonna grab it. The one other project that I would like to get done sometime in the next month or so is I would like to make another version of the Deer and Doe Bluet dress out of this really pretty watermelon print fabric that I also got from Joann. And I want to make a longer version. So I don't know if I can show you this without standing up here. Okay, so the other version that I've made comes to about this in my knee. So it comes to like somewhere around here, and I would rather it come down to like mid-calf probably. So I think like a midi length is what that would be considered. And I've been wanting to try that out with the Deer and Doe Blue A dress because I absolutely love that dress pattern to death. I've made so many versions of it. The dress that I'm wearing today is actually a heavily modified version of the Blue A dress. My wedding dress was a heavily modified version of the Blue A dress. And so I really do love the pattern, and I think that this would be absolutely perfect because it's summery and it's like a shirt dress normally. So I think that it would be a really good pairing. I think those are the only two projects that I really want to think about right now. I don't know how much you can see of my fabric over here. I don't have a ton, but I have some really cute prints that I would love to make some stuff out of, but again, I'm keeping my expectations low. So, yeah, I think that's about all that I have to tell you about any sort of creative things. Like I said, I have some books that I want to show you. I may have splurged on several books recently. So I have a book haul video that I really need to film because I've bought like another 20 or something books, which I love because I love books. So stay tuned for that. I'll probably do another book haul video, and then I also want to do one. I've been watching a couple of videos recently on YouTube where it's the classics tag and it's a book tag, but it's all about like classic books, which are some of my favorite books of all time. So I think that would be a really fun one to do. And then I've been watching a bunch of videos by Miranda Mills, and oh, she's like the coziest, homiest, like one of the best YouTube finds I've found recently, and I've just been watching a bunch of her backlog of videos. So I'm going to link her channel down below, and I do highly recommend you check her out if you like books and cozy and vintage books and whatnot. It's been making me so happy. So I realized that I want to film a few book videos like that. So stay tuned for that. I don't know when it'll happen yet. I'm, again, like with my sewing, I'm trying to keep my expectations low for YouTube and just make videos when the inspiration strikes. So, I've said sew a lot. That's okay. I think that's about it. Yes. Let me see. A message from my boss. I need to wrap things up so that I can finish up a couple things and get ready for work. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed it. Yeah, if you have any suggestions for patterns, sewing patterns that you really like, or knitting patterns that you really like, or autumnal creative projects that you are working on, or anything, honestly. If you want to just say hi, you can say hi. I would love to chat with you. It might take me a couple days to reply back to your comment, but I would reply back to it. Anyway, I need to go, so thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.